Perfect. So welcome everyone. So this is Dee, the host of the Happy Naked podcast. I'm also the founder of D Health and Fitness and the online program called Naked Fit. The author of the book Happy Naked, and today it's all about sharing a naked truth. The whole point, as you know, in all the different interviews, is to help you with these conversations to elevate the vibration of our planet. And one way to do that, it is by sharing stories of our journey of illness and sickness and all these different things that happen in our life and how we end up figuring out how to resolve our issues. And something that I haven't shared with Suzanne today, it is that I experienced in 2016. Everything started in 2016 when I had something on my skin and doctors didn't know what it was. It took them almost a year to figure out what it was. It turned out to be a parasite that I got on the skin. And because I got it in Mexico, doctors here didn't know. Here in Canada, didn't know exactly how to identify that. Mm-hmm. But by the time that my doctor, I changed family doctors, it was a whole, I had everybody working on me, like from naturopath doctors, traditional Chinese medicine doctors, including acupuncture, Chinese herbs. It was crazy. And then at the very end, well, we knew that it was parasites, but the journey itself, it was full of pain, physical pain, and that is a tough thing to live with. The nature of the work that I do, including the fact that I'm a mom of 3 kids, it was draining me because I basically can you imagine going to a fitness trainer that is tired or it's like not like, so I have to take the energy from where I didn't have it, which I obviously had it, right? But it was draining me to motivate, empower, and encourage people to push through their workout. And at the end of the day, I was completely done and out of business. I'm like, I'm out. And it took a very, very long time for me to recover to a point that it destroyed my gut. And it took me about 2 years after 2017. So meaning by 2019 is when I basically felt that I started to get my gut back. Mm-hmm. So, and that is pretty much linked to what the story of Suzanne is going to share, because I want to first share who she is. She's a mom, she's a grandmom, and she's an entrepreneur. And today she's with us to share a very, and I put it under taboo. It is because I know a lot of people that suffer from autoimmune diseases that it show up in different ways for different people. Mm-hmm. And why is it taboo? Because at this point, my understanding and what I hear from a lot of people, it is when you're diagnosed, you just take it as it is and that's it. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And from my experience and the knowledge I have learned over the years, I now know that we do not settle with that answer. Mm-hmm. And getting to know your story, I want everybody to know, right? How do you do it? How was your journey? So welcome, Suzanne. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for saying yes. This is the most important thing: is that everybody that I bring in the show, it is a hell yes to this. Yeah. So I mean, that's exactly what. In the moment I asked you, you were yes, of course. I want to share. I want to encourage and inspire people on what your journey it has been, because then I'm sure it's going to inspire them in many other areas of life anyway, right? Because that's always how it is. It's not only in one way. So share with us a little bit about you and your health journey. Let's start with that.
Okay. So my health journey has been interesting. um, I will start with about 15 years ago. Um, I had an injury happen to me. And as a result of that injury, I wound up having to go to a neurologist who did an MRI and scan. And what wound up happening is I was contacted by the neurologist a couple of weeks, maybe a month. This is a long time ago, so this is going on just memory. Um, and they contacted me and asked me to come into their office. And I thought, oh God, something is terribly wrong. You know, like they don't tell you to come in unless there's
Yeah,
something, right?
exactly. Exactly.
And so I had suffered a head injury, was what happened, and then I had some short-term memory loss going on. And so basically, I just thought, you know, like maybe there was some sort of concussion, or you know, like maybe a brain bleed. Like I don't know, I didn't know. And so these tests happened, and they called me in, and I'm expecting to hear something like, you know, you have a concussion, or we've detected this thing that is the cause of your short-term memory loss.
Wow.
Which, by the way, has gone away.
Yeah.
It was a temporary thing, but was the catalyst for these tests and then the subsequent call into the neurologist's office. And I went in expecting to hear something and heard something that was absolutely unrelated, and it shocked me. It literally shocked me. I remember in the moment of hearing the news that I had this autoimmune disorder, I literally lost my ability to hear. Like everything just went like a tunnel and then just stopped. And I felt like a lightning bolt had gone through my body. Wow. Just instant panic and anxiety, and I didn't know how to handle that. The neurologist did not ask me if I had a support system or if I had, you know, anything, you know. I remember asking questions like, can I manage this through diet and nutrition, exercise, supplements, these natural ways, right? Because I'm not, and this isn't a discouragement to people who feel that pharmaceuticals could help them move through something, but it's not a choice I would make for myself. And so it was important for me to ask questions about a natural ways. Path through. That was categorically denied. I was told that I needed to be on a medication that would cost $35,000 a year, and we should get you on antidepressants right away because this is going to completely ruin your...
And this is just to expand on that and clarify for people that are not from Canada, right? So it basically means a lot of the stuff is covered by the healthcare. We are in Alberta, and Alberta healthcare covers a lot of things, and in some cases there is a lot of support, and it seems that it wasn't applicable for you at that time, right?
It was not. So the medication would not be covered by Alberta healthcare. I think you know, there is plans or insurance that you can get for prescriptions. I did not have that. And so that would be $35,000 out of pocket for me. $35,000. And that's 15 years ago. So I have no idea how much it would be today. But 15 years ago, $35,000 a year.
It's still a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
it's still a lot of money. How many people
some
actually
annual salaries?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
What? Yeah. And so that wasn't even an option in my mind. But what wound up happening for me is I had a full system, so mental, emotional, physical, all-encompassing nervous breakdown. And I did not go the pharmaceutical route, but I can say that with my limited knowledge at the time, it took me a really long time to navigate a holistic, natural way of moving through this. And I stumbled a lot, but I knew I knew within me, and not just a knowing, but on a very fundamental, I would say even cellular level, I knew that there was, it would be a mistake for me to abandon what I believe to be true for myself and just do what the doctor told me to do.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, and I had to keep reminding myself of that, especially in the beginning of my journey, because I didn't have a real support. My children were small at the time; they're grown-ups now, but they were little, and they depended on me, and I had to be strong. I had to be capable. I had to be. I was their provider. All of these things, right? But I was simultaneously and instantaneously terrified to the point of almost not being able to function in life, right?
Totally.
And so there's a lot more to that, you know, and
it's a whole book.
Oh God. And I won't get into all the details now. So basically, I began to pursue aggressively naturopathic lifestyle, and not just remedies, but a way of actually living my life day to day that would be not just physically in support of my body, but mentally and emotionally supporting myself and building, right? And part of that process, really quickly, was also sort of removing certain, I would say, I'll just say certain people from my life, because not because they were bad people, but because they weren't fundamental to what I needed at the time in terms of support and encouragement, and then finding new people, my new tribe to come in and support me in that journey. So, you know, it took me, so this is 15 years ago, and it's taken me, you know, it took me roughly 10 years to find the correct balance for me within my own system, and I mean all-encompassing balance. So the things we've talked about, but also physically, right? So what am I putting in my body? What am I taking in energetically? You know, I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. These things would be would counter the good things that I am putting into my body and taking care of myself. And so, you know, I don't know if I can go into speaking on that in current times, like what's happening now.
Of course.
So, you know, of course, globally, but we're in a situation. And I'm just gonna talk about locally. So here in Calgary, where I live, there's a lot of fear in the world right now, and I see a lot of people moving in their lives with fear as a primary. And you know, people do funny things when they're in a place of fear. You know, they act in manners in which they wouldn't otherwise, right? And I'm observing this out in the world today, and you know, direct observation when I'm out in the shops or whatever, but also, you know, on social media, and you know, most people are on social media, and I'm sure have experienced or witnessed that type of thing going on, fear, and you know, sometimes it brings out you know, a lack of empathy and lack of compassion, and sometimes unkindness toward our fellow humans, right? And you know, what I do notice too is that there is you know, what I have, my autoimmune disease, people look at me and they don't see illness. And so it would be called an invisible illness, right? And the thing about that is that I choose myself, and so this is the first time I've actually ever publicly announced that this is a thing for me, partly because I'm a private person, but also partly because I know that there is an element in the world out there that once you tell somebody or label yourself a thing,
Mm-hmm.
then they see you as that
Mm-hmm.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe have an inability to look beyond that. And so I just avoid that by not
Yeah.
discussing
Yeah.
it, with the exception of a few trusted humans in my life. I've never actually told people this about myself. Um, and and so now, in this climate of things that we are in right now, collectively, I find myself being this private person who would not ever choose to voluntarily share this
Mm-hmm.
information, now being placed into a position where, because I am not obviously a
Mm-hmm.
disabled person, um, or a person with a disability, disease, I find myself being told that I now must disclose that I have a medical condition to complete strangers, and it's, for me, and I believe for people like me, that is such an affront. It is such an affront to autonomy and sovereignty, but also privacy and the right to choose whether
Mm-hmm.
or not we
Mm-hmm.
share personal
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes painful information
Mm-hmm.
with literally complete
Yes.
strangers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not
You're wow. You're making a very, very interesting point right there,
mhm,
because I'm on the opposite end. I can be very private. You don't like I keep, for example, as all my life and my business is out there through social media, and all the work I do is out there. I still quite private when it comes to my family, for example, right?
mhm,
Because it's a choice,
sure.
right? And you also have chosen over all these years to be private about what happens in your body,
Mhm,
right? And and your perspective on how all the situation have changed how you like the decision that you make, and now you have been forced, because
mhm,
it's basically forcing you to disclose something that you're nobody asked you.
mhm,
Like, you know are you
mhm,
open, are you okay, say, like, no, it was like you have to say that you have this, or right, you won't be able to go to a grocery store, or
mhm,
you won't be able to to act like a normal person,
mhm,
because everybody is going to judge you, which it goes down to what a lot of us are experiencing, right?
mhm,
And it is that judgment
mhm,
without asking what's happening,
mhm,
right? Like, aside, and I'm not saying that it's just asking you directly. It's just, from me, if I see you, it's always about, I'm sure there has to be something that she is going through, that is the reason why she is might not be wearing a mask, for example,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Instead of directly judging you that you are making me sick because you're not, like,
mhm,
how the heck is that, right? And we're
mhm,
getting in that situation where a lot of people have been judged
mhm,
for not following what everybody else is doing,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
In this case, in your case, of course, there is a condition that it's stopping you from following a mandate that is insane,
mhm,
right? First of
mhm,
all, because in my personal opinion, I don't think absolutely anybody have the right to tell you what to do with your body.
mhm,
That's from my perspective, right? And when somebody tells you you need to wear a mask, it's unacceptable. You
mhm,
cannot tell me to wear something, especially when there is no scientific proof about it, right?
mhm,
And that actually is going to stop something like all these different countries are sharing, when there's so many doctors speaking against it,
mhm,
with a very interesting proof on why it doesn't work, or
mhm.
how or like it doesn't work,
And
period.
that it could potentially even cause harm,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, I like I said before, like it has taken me a long time to strike that balance within my system, to
Mm.
be able to live a healthy and
Yeah.
productive life.
Yeah.
And I work hard at striking that balance, and I have for a long time. And what happens within my system is when there's like a bacteria or a virus, colds, not so much. If it's mild, it's not that big of a deal for me. It doesn't trigger this catastrophic event in my body.
Mm-hmm.
But recently I had an event where I actually wound up in the hospital for 6 days, and it was not a fun experience on many, many levels. I won't go into all of that right now, but as a result of this event, I had inflammation, which we know is the root of all disease, is
Yeah.
inflammation.
Mhm.
But I had some serious inflammation going on in my gut.
Mm-hmm.
And if I found out that I have ulcers, like who knew? I've never
Yeah.
encountered this
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
But as a result of the inflammation and what was happening in my gut, my immune system went on high alert and just went out and attacked, right? So I'm actually currently, I'm not suffering or struggling or anything, but I am definitely noticing a diminished ability to function physically, and doing everything that I can to get that back online. Um, but my point is that when an event happens in my health that could trigger this cascading effect within my body, that I wind up having a harder time walking, a harder time using my keyboard. Sometimes my vision dims. It could be a myriad of things that happen within my system because of an event, right? And so I have to be careful and strike that proper balance within my system. My immune system cannot be too high because it will be on high alert, and it cannot be too low because then I'm susceptible to pathogens, and it will kick my immune system into gear, and it will attack my nervous system.
Yeah.
So there's this balance, there's this band in here between high and low where I need to try and remain. And within that, I can sort of bounce around in here. So in here, I get colds. In here, I might have a mild flu. In here, and it's okay as long as I don't do this.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happens now as a result of mask wearing and so on, I haven't worn a mask, by the way, because if I have to wear a mask for lengthy periods of time, we know now, especially with the studies, that there's a moisture buildup within the mask. Never mind that the masks don't protect from viruses anyway. It's in the literature, and it's also on the boxes that the masks come in. But
who the heck takes the time to read the box?
Who reads that?
Okay, so who reads instructions?
Just like vaccine inserts, which I'll talk about in a minute. But so the moisture collects within the fabric of the mask, and when it becomes moist, it acts as a bit of a glue. And so I go to the supermarket, I might go to a sporting goods store, I might go to another market, I might go to who knows where, the dollar store, craft store, whatever. And I'm wearing this same fabric mask, and so I'm creating moisture and then collecting particulates from these various places. I'm adjusting my mask, so now I'm touching with my hand, contaminating, and I'm touching things in this store and whatever. The point that I'm trying to make is that for me, recycling that moist air full of particulates and inhaling that into my system over and over again. Now, remembering exhaust is actually meant to go out and not come back in, right? Like our bodies get rid of toxins in various ways. And one of those ways is through the exhale. But if it's captured within this moist mask and then you're rebreathing in, plus adding new particulates from whatever environment you happen to be in, now I am risking, as a person with an autoimmune disorder, rebreathing in these particulates, and that includes bacteria, that includes viruses, many types of viruses. and creating that imbalance within my system that I have worked very hard and
Yeah.
carefully to strike within my system so that I can be healthy. And it's upsetting to me that, and I'm not unique. I'm not
No,
unique.
no, no.
There are many, many, many
It's quite
people.
common. It's quite common,
Mm-hmm.
and even to understand how common it is, one of the causes of experiencing the disorder that you are experiencing, it is basically the GMO products.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in food,
Sure.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
that it can easily trigger that.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, like, where do we find, for people that do not know what GMO products are, is genetically modified organisms. And we find it if, for example, we know that corn has been modified for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. We know that soy has been modified for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We know cotton, that what we wear,
Mm-hmm.
it is on our skin, it's touching our skin.
Bananas.
Yeah, bananas, pineapple, all those different things. Like, the fact that you're eating grapes without seeds,
Yeah.
it's like, what the heck is that? So, anyway, and it's something that is very obvious to me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not very obvious for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
something as simple as in our food, when we assume that, our like, food is our fuel, and it's what it's supposed to nurture our body to create that balance.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, I'm sure you also have to be very careful on the food that you buy these
100%.
days. These days more than ever.
More than ever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we already know that we have a lot of pesticides in our food.
Mm-hmm.
We have a organic. It doesn't mean that it's 100% free of chemicals. We
Mm-hmm.
already know that, and we have to move away from GMO products, right? So look at all those things that are really, really important, and to think about, and not only in a situation like yours, right? It is in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like kids that are in the process of development, like little ones, like toddlers, teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Having all this kind of food or chemicals that comes in lotion, shampoo, all that kind of stuff, it
Mm-hmm.
really disrupt our gut, which it can affect our immunity in the long term, or hormones in the long term,
Mm-hmm.
and all
Because
those
it's
things.
all here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. People think hormones are, sort of like this randomized, or maybe just a brain chemical, but it all starts and ends in the gut, and this is what I've been learning over the course of many, many years of reading and just sort of understanding, because I do have to have a very, I'm going to say strict diet, for lack of a better term, but it's actually not. Strict sounds like deprivation. It's
yeah,
not a
no,
deprived diet,
no,
but it has to be a diet as free of preservatives as possible, as natural as possible. Um, you know, uh, Supplements, various things. So I steer away from foods that come in packages.
yes,
I steer
preservative and
away.
all that stuff. It's
Mhm.
out.
Yeah, and I steer away from fast food. Like every now and again, I do have, I have treats, but they're not treats like McDonald's or anything like
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah.
It's, like a chocolate bar or something like that,
Or
right?
a
But
good restaurant, right?
or a
Like,
nice
there are a
restaurant,
lot of
yeah.
restaurants that are very, very, like, they're very good at choosing their ingredients wisely.
Mhm.
And even recently, I stopped by a burger place that is near my house, and I had a conversation with the owner.
Mhm.
Oh my God, that guy knows everything that he's putting in the burger.
I love
Like,
that.
he knows everything, and he explained me everything from the cows and to the ice cream that he makes in the store himself,
Nice.
to the bun for the bread, everything. It
Mhm.
was quite, and you know what? I was so, and I'm like, I gotta share this. So I immediately, share his store on Instagram,
Mhm.
because those are the things that we want to promote, right? We want to
Yeah.
encourage that kind of people that are really, really putting detailed attention to all those little things,
So
right?
conscientious, right? And I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
You know, if I can go into a restaurant or even a supermarket and be able to see and understand immediately what it is that I'm being
mm-hmm,
served or what I'm
mm-hmm.
choosing to purchase. It's like anything. Informed consent is such a big deal, right? And
Yeah,
if you're not if you don't care, and that's okay. But people do care. There are people who do
yeah,
care, and I like to know what is in my food. You know, what
yeah,
am I putting into my body? What am I purchasing?
yeah,
You know, and no hidden ingredients. You
yeah,
know, or
yeah.
ingredients that are. You know, one thing but named another so that it can be snuck in there. You know,
Yeah,
I've seen that quite a bit. But yeah, like and good for that restaurateur. Like
yeah.
I
No,
absolutely
I
love
will
that.
share that with you.
Conscientious.
Yeah, I will
Yeah.
share that with you. And I want to say thank you once again because um, you are not the first person that I'm getting in the show that have never shared this story. So
Woo
it
woo.
is good. It is good. You're not alone, so that's good. But it's about. I think it's all about sharing all
Mhm,
those hidden stories from real people like you and me, right?
mhm,
And we have the tendency to see now out in the stream media, social media, that is only the celebrities that get to share all this stories of suffering or pain or trauma or
mhm,
or struggle in different ways. And we don't understand that people like us, right, it also suffer from the same thing. And
100%.
and all the
Mhm,
struggle, which is allow us to connect with people like us, because not all of us are celebrities, right?
mhm,
And even though that I joke about it, but that's it's a different level of exposure.
mhm,
And but having conversations with someone like you, I find that is really inspiring, because it will allow people that are watching this to understand that this is a real thing
mhm.
from a normal person like you. You're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, you're a mom, you're a grandmom,
Mhm,
right? Like you just have a normal life, like 80% of our population,
mhm,
right? That it's struggles, and over the years have been able to find a way to find that balance. As you explained, you have your range of balance that would allows you to stay centered, to be able to perform in life and
mhm,
enjoy life in as everybody else, right?
mhm, mhm.
So those are really, really important keys that you mentioned. And I also think that there are few things that I want to reinforce. No judgment. We
Mhm.
need, please, and I have been judged in my life many, many times based on the choices I made, right? And what I learned out of that is the number one thing is we always make decisions based on the knowledge that we have in that moment, right? So why somebody's going to judge you if that's you're making the decision based on what you know,
Mhm,
right? So
mhm,
that is the number one thing. And the other thing is, like, we always make decisions based on what we also know is the best for us in that moment.
mhm,
So who the heck am I to judge you on the decision that you're making right now?
mhm.
You know what your best is for you. So why am I judging you? Because at the end of the day, judgment goes based on my experiences,
Mhm,
not on yours. And
mhm,
if you're making a decision is based on your experience, not on mine.
mhm.
So those are key elements that I find that are really, really important in our society right now more than ever.
Yes.
And you also mentioned another important thing, which is consent,
Mhm,
right? So none of us around the planet agree to have crap in our food.
mhm,
Because if you're told that everything that is in the food is gonna make you sick, it's gonna, cause cancer or can hormone imbalance or screw up your metabolism or an autoimmune disorder, would you say yes to that? I don't think so. I don't think anybody will agree to be sick, right?
Mhm.
Nobody will agree to be in pain
Mhm.
because it translates in joint pains, in back pains, in headaches, in migraine, and without understanding why that's happening.
Mhm.
Would you agree to that? I hope your answer is no, right?
Yeah.
So we need to understand, and who the heck says, consent to all the crap that it's being put in our food
Mhm.
and the vaccines, right?
Oh yeah.
So that is another thing, because one
Yeah.
of the things that also inspired me to ask you to be here, it is you share with me something really, really interesting that I personally didn't know. And I think also it is really important. So we have been talking about vaccines for the last few months.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it's been a topic of conversation for not many of us, but especially out there in the media.
Mhm.
Okay, and so share your experience and what you have learned about vaccines, because it could be a good thing to inspire people to do their own research as well,
Mhm.
right? Because I
Mhm.
think it could be a trigger for you to get that start that research.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, uh, for me, number one, anything that could potentially cause harm or pain to a person, to my person, I need to have information and
Mm,
consent to that thing.
mm,
And vaccines fall firmly into that category, not just for me, but for anybody. So basically, vaccines can be safe for some people, and for
mhm.
some people, those same vaccines can be harmful. And because there is that level of harm that can happen to people, there has to be informed
Yeah.
consent.
Mm.
Super important. So I mentioned that I'm a grandma, and my granddaughter is going to be 10 soon in February. And, when she was, I'm going to say, a year and a half, whatever the I don't know the vaccine schedules
Yeah, it's just
anymore.
somewhere
It's
between 6 months and 2 years. That's kind of,
yeah,
the series of vaccines that I
yeah,
remember anyway.
yeah.
Right.
And so we're gonna go back maybe 8.5 years. And my daughter was taking my granddaughter, to the community health clinic, and the nurses there would give
Yeah.
vaccinations, and my daughter had scheduled this vaccination. And I had already started sort of poking around about nutrition and vaccines and toxins and all of this stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I became concerned because I had learned at that time and before of the various ingredients that are in vaccines, and things like heavy metals
Yeah.
and aborted fetal tissue,
Wow.
and like just all of this
Crazy.
stuff. And I'm like, my God, and the potential, people want to say they're side effects, but I would say they're not side effects, they're effects of injecting these things into your
Yeah.
body, right? And it scared me. And so my daughter asked me to go with her to this vaccination appointment. And when we went, I had read at that time, the number one most important thing you can do to advocate for yourself in a situation like this is ask questions and ask the administrator
Yeah.
of the vaccine to show the insert
Yeah.
for the vaccine itself, not the print off that they would get off of Google or whatever to talk
Yeah.
about the
What?
benefits of the
Yes.
vaccine, but the actual insert that comes within the box of the vaccine itself. And in that insert, it lists every single
Wow.
ingredient.
Hmm.
And then it also lists all of the potential side effects,
Wow.
which I
Okay.
actually call effects.
Yes, and it's interesting, and I want to pause right there because
Mhm.
it's really key. This is I want to say that ask questions.
Ask
So
questions.
we're talking about no judgment, we're talking about consent, we're talking about ask questions. How many times do you stop, you react, but you don't even take the time to stop and ask questions, right? And see if that's making sense, if that feels right. And you know what? I don't think anybody these days stop and talk to your heart or your belly and say, is this feeling right for me? Is this feels right for my granddaughter? If this feels right for my kids, right? So we're not taking that time right now to go, and that would, when you slow down, it will allows you to kind of remember. And I want people to remember, ask questions, ask the nurse or the doctor, what are the inserts, and demand that you're not going to proceed until you have that information, because that will allow you to make the proper decision. And the choice is yours. Once you make that informed decision, it is fine. I don't see, and I'm not going to, I personally am not going to judge anybody that will make the decision as long as they're informed.
That's exactly what it's about, is information, information, right? And just because you have a booked appointment does not mean that you must move ahead with the activity of that appointment. If you advocate for yourself, this is a good thing. There is nothing wrong with advocating for yourself in any situation. And I always say, be respectful, right? Be respectful, be kind, be compassionate, but be firm. Stand up for yourself. Hold on a minute. I'd really like to see the insert for this vaccination. Can you provide that for me? And it's also okay to give yourself permission to sit and think about it beyond the appointment. Take the information, take a picture of it if you need to, take it home, think about it. And if you still feel it's good for you to go ahead with a vaccine for yourself or for your child, rebook your appointment. Just because you have something booked does not mean you are obligated to go through with the activity of that appointment. You can say no if you feel uncomfortable or you just want to take time to review the information. 100% acceptable.
I saw this video a few nights ago that it's been sent to me from many different sources, and it's this person. I'm not going to say the name because I want this to be shared on YouTube, and I don't want there to censor my video. So, but then and the ingredients, this person, it is going in details and saying exactly the same thing that you're saying. It's like a look at the ingredients, and she's doing a close up to the box of that vaccine, and then she's saying, look at this ingredient. And then she's showing people how to do the research. Okay, look at this. And the thing, and I want to make this clear, because we have the understanding that we do not have access to the information. And what we probably do not know is how to search, right? And because all the information is there. Absolutely everything. We just need to take the time with patience, right? And you said something, take your time. Because you make an appointment doesn't mean that you really have to proceed if it doesn't feel right for you at that moment. Or if you don't feel pressure, because at the end of the day, it is your life. It is your life and the life of your family that you're putting at risk with only one decision that you're making based on not being informed. And please ask for the inserts. It doesn't harm anybody asking. Okay?
Not at all. That is such a good point. You're not hurting anybody by asking. And you can't, so it's a win-win. You get the information, and then you can give yourself permission to think about it. do your independent research of these things and the potential hazards of taking these things into your body, and then you can make a decision from there. And I just advocate for that.
Yeah.
And if you choose to go ahead, that is your choice. But isn't that the point? Informed consent and choice,
Wow.
right? And
Wonderful.
I think also, and I have been guilty of this myself, and I think as a society in general, we allow our intuition and our gut to be overridden by this phrase of do what the doctor says, as though not that they have malintention. I don't believe that, but you are your advocate.
Yeah.
The doctor or the nurse, whoever it is, has 10, 15, 20, 100 different patients. You look out for you, right? And so it's your job first to advocate for yourself, and to not just do what the doctor says because they say so. I believe that well-intentioned doctors are out there, and there's some good advice that happens, but to override your own intuition and to override your own ability to advocate and research and learn things for yourself to make these informed decisions just because somebody tells you to do what the doctor says, you don't have to do that. Doctors are super smart people for sure, but you are your advocate.
Yeah.
You are your advocate, and your advocate for your children if they are minor children, right? And it's super important to just remind ourselves, like we can pause. We can pause. There's this principle out there called second thought, first action, right? So first thought, first action, sometimes the action isn't what is in our own best interest, right? Like we think of something and then we act, and sometimes, maybe oftentimes, that first action on that first thought is not the best thing for us. So second thought, first action, meaning you have your first thought and you're like, well, I'm going to give myself an opportunity to think about this, and then have a second thought. And then from that second thought, taking measured and thoughtful action, right? And I think it's important to just pause and give ourselves the opportunity to think about things before we make an action that could potentially adversely affect our health and ourselves moving forward.
Totally. Oh my God, it's so interesting, all the bits and pieces that you have shared with us. And I think my personal ultimate goal, it is to be able to inspire people with these taboo conversations. And because having these conversations is stop being taboo, right? It is just, we bring that to light. And it's like, okay, here we are. It's not a taboo anymore, right? People, and every time I tell people that I, interview, people like you about taboo topics, everybody thinks about sex. And nobody thinks that there's so many things that there are hidden. They're not, like nobody wants to talk about it, right? Because, there could be shame or guilt, or we're looking at different addictions or issues, or or as you said, I'm private, I don't feel like I need to share my personal struggles or what is happening in my body, right? So all those kind of things are really key. However, stories like yours, it can inspire a lot of people, right? And I'm gonna say this again, I appreciate the fact that you say yes, because it's an inspiration to somebody that it might be going through something similar, or it can inspire them to say, you know what, with my story, I can help somebody that it might be different than yours, but it's just encouraging people that we need to speak up, right? Like the fear of being judged is not going to help anyone to be contribute to somebody else's life in a positive way, right? That could be a good way to be at service.
Yeah, that is such a good point. And I just want to make a point as well. Prior to all of this, virus stuff. I don't even know what to call it. It's just so insane to me. But the one thing that I am grateful for is that I have been pushed to to come outside of my own comfort zone around speaking about this, and I am grateful for it. Like I wasn't super happy about it, and I definitely am not um, okay whatsoever with people like me being forced into a situation of divulging private information to complete strangers. That is not okay to me. What I am grateful for is being pushed outside my comfort zone and being honest about what I have been dealing with for the last 15 years. And, and I do have to say, it's not an everyday thing, but there are these flare ups that happen, right? And they can be absolutely terrifying. And it takes a lot of mental gymnastics and emotional gymnastics to come back to a place of feeling rational. And if you're out there and you can relate to that, this is the gift, right? I can relate to you and you can relate to me and know that you are not alone. And I have discovered that I am not alone. I know there's people who have autoimmune disorders, other issues that they feel scared around, that flare up or that is constant in their lives. And I know that, but there's something quite powerful I have discovered in all of this, of the power of voicing what is happening in our lives with each other, and I'm not saying like, please don't put pearls before swine, like choose your people and share with safe individuals. I'm sharing this publicly, but I am also happy to connect with people privately if they want to have some conversation or talk to me about my experience or share their own with me, right? But I just want to encourage people, like, if you are choosing to step outside of your comfort zone and connect with somebody to share something that is intimate and personal, and maybe a little bit scary for you, make sure that you check in with your intuition, with your gut, and that you feel safe with that individual in sharing that information.
Yeah. And one of the interviews I had in the past, it was with one of my good friends, Lorna, and she's all about safety. So basically, it's in situations of danger mainly, and but that is no different to what you're sharing right now. Like stepping out on an intuition, even if you are in a scary situation, if you're corner, you see that somebody's approaching you, you always need to get to that point. Always listen to your intuition, and your intuition is always right. Your heart is always right when we ask the right questions. That's the other thing. And so that is really key. So I want to start guiding people on what were the things that you found helpful for you on this 15-year journey, that you say, you know what, that was helpful for me, and it can guide people to maybe go on that route and explore, right? Because we don't know.
Sure. So it's quite the toolkit, and the tools vary. What I've discovered is there's a toolkit that contains things like nutrition and supplements. There's a toolkit that contains exercise and meditation.
Yeah.
There's a toolkit that contains tools for emotional and spiritual well-being. Meditation is one of those things, but also for me, it was accessing third-party help, emotionally and mentally, was one of the main keys for me. Also,
asking for help.
Asking for help, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And from trusted people. Sorry, I just got to stretch my leg out here. From trusted individuals, right? So if I access help from somebody and it turns out they're not actually a fit for me, that's okay. Thank you for your help, and I'm going to move on to somebody else, and that's okay to do that too, right? But one of the things too was just learning that it's actually okay and acceptable for me to break down and be in my pain in it, like one of the things that I learned around not wanting to be judged is I didn't want to be seen as a weak individual. I didn't want to be judged as somebody who couldn't cope. And what I've learned, and it was not I read this thing and I learned that it doesn't matter what people think.
It's not an overnight fix for that one.
No,
I'm sure.
No, like anything that is worth having, it's practice, right? And so, like I said, it took me many, many years, more than a decade, to strike that balance. And within that balance, there was a lot of fumbling around with emotional and mental and spiritual balance and well-being, and so I have been an entrepreneur for a very long time. And at the time that this was going on for me, I actually owned a clothing store. And I remember having again, people don't know this, but I remember having a breakdown right in the middle of my store. I was actually working by myself, and there was at the moment of breakdown, there were nobody else in the store. And I literally just sank down onto the floor in between the racks, and I just started sobbing because I felt so overwhelmed and so frightened and so just like it was never ever going to be okay again. That in that moment, that is how I felt. And this girl came in. I say girl just because she's younger than me, but at the time she was, I would say, in her maybe mid-20s, and she came in and she saw me, and she did not avoid or leave or anything. She literally beelined for me. And she crouched down and she put her hand on my back and she said, "It's okay." And it makes me tear up to this day. And she said, "It's okay to break down, because in order to see where we are and what we need to do and rebuild, you have to be here right now." And the kindness of that stranger just, wow, it was everything that I needed in that moment. And I felt like I was going to be okay. I didn't feel okay in the moment, but I felt like, okay, there's this little light at the end of the tunnel, right? And like, God bless that stranger. And I will never, ever forget her. I will never forget her. And, this many years later, look at what that beautiful act of kindness and encouragement did. And today, this many years later, I still have tears about that person. And she changed my life, and she doesn't even know it. Totally. Maybe she will now. Like, who knows?
It's I had a similar experience when I separate, where nobody wanted to rent a house for me because I had kids.
Yeah.
So they allowed pets, but not kids. Right? Like, what the heck? Yeah. That's how wrong our society is today. Okay. Not because I understand that people love their pets, but you're not going to put my kids under the pet's level.
Yeah.
Like, it's unacceptable to me, right? And after searching and getting rejected because I had kids, this person randomly, I almost begged. I'm like, I need to move. I need a place. I didn't know this person. She immediately called, like she didn't say anything right away. She called me the next day and she said, "The place is yours."
Wow.
I was like, I have a place, I have a home.
Yeah.
I was homeless, not necessarily physically, but emotionally and spiritually was homeless for about 6 months,
Hmm.
right? So knowing that I had a place where I could freely be, it was like changing. I never, after a while, this girl and I are part of several same groups.
Hmm.
And it wasn't, this is 8 years ago, it wasn't until last year that I saw her in this massive gala event. And I don't know why. And I told her, I finally say thank you. You did something, what you said. You did
Yeah.
something to me that you didn't know.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing this with you because I want you to know how impactful
Yeah.
it was for me at that moment, when it probably was something very simple for you just to say yes to have another tenant,
Hmm.
right? So I get it. We
Yeah.
have those angels. We
Yeah.
have those angels always, hanging around in our life. And normally they always show up when we're in the deepest of our deepest,
Hmm.
and just to give us light and uh, and bless that moment, because
Yeah.
that moment, as dark as it seems, it is always what is stepping up us to get to the next level, to
Hmm.
where we are today.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, there's no way we can be where we are today with the awakening, spirituality, enlightenment, like no matter how you call it, right?
Hmm.
Without all those experiences.
Hmm.
And I appreciate the fact that you're sharing all these insights from the different experiences, from like autoimmune disorder, from breakdown to understanding, for having people a good understanding of what you put in your body, it will create an impact,
Hmm.
positive or negative,
Hmm.
right? It's just, but we all have to make the
No matter
decision.
what, there's going to
No
be
matter,
an
it's,
outcome.
yes,
Is it going to be a positive outcome,
yeah,
or as positive as possible, or is it going to be a negative or harmful outcome?
yeah,
There's always going to be an outcome.
yeah, always, and
Yeah.
and be aware of that, and please take the time to watch this as many times as you need.
Hmm.
And because I'm sure there will be something that you missed on that first watch, right?
Hmm.
So it is really, really key. And so I asked her earlier, like, what are the things that you would like to offer or share with people, with the audience, the people that are watching this interview? And so she mentioned that please, you can contact her. I'm going to share the link in the comments. And if you find that her wisdom and her experience, it can help you and support you. She is very passionate at helping people that are homeless, who struggle, like they're, she said, the underdog.
The underdog.
And so if you feel that you're in that position at this moment in your life, well, number one, you don't have to be there forever.
Mhm.
And but then, like, she is happy to be there for you, and be at service with the tools and wisdom she has gained over the years. So please feel free to contact her, and thank you very much for being here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. If I can just say a couple more things before we wrap up, is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, so I just want to make sure that people, whatever is happening for you in your life, one of the main things, aside from just being like allowing yourself to be wherever you are at in your journey, and not shaming yourself or allowing yourself to be
Yeah.
shamed for where you are. Um, just remember, you are not alone. Um, and, it is perfectly okay that you are where you are at right now in this moment, and to remember that where you are at is not your destination. It is temporary. It's temporary, and like Dee has said, you can definitely, she's going to include how you can connect with me in the comments link. And please, you know, if you want to have conversation with me, or if you want to share your experience with me, or want more of my experience in more detail, please connect with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, thank you. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram under Mago Happy Naked. And on Facebook, you can find me under Naked Fit 100% Health and Fitness. And also, you can look at my page, Mago Happy Naked, also on Facebook. And I'm also here at your service to help you in every way possible. My approach is very very holistic. I combined, as you can see here in the back, some of the sound healing like techniques, and nutrition, and everything is changing these days. Everything, how we, like, what we feel, how we manage emotions, how we exercise. There's so many ways that it can be very overwhelming. And so my way, it's always to simplify that. You can find it on my book Happy Naked. That's the very very foundation of everything. That's your starting point. Once you get that, then little by little we can continue that journey of stepping up on the next level. So the foundation is key, and the foundation can take 10 years, right, as you shared, or it can take 6 months. It all depends. But I think the most important thing is, don't feel bad whether it takes 30 days, 6 months, or 10 years, because it's coming. As long as you're taking all the steps, it is coming. Okay. We need to stop that instant gratification. And that's something that, moving away from that, is going to ease the process, is going to ease the journey for you. So thank you very much for being with us today. And of course, subscribe to my channel, and that's also very much appreciated. Like my page on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and if there's anything I can help you with, please just send me a message. I hope you have been able to see through all the several interviews, and if you follow me on the different social media platforms, I'm quite open, and I'm always here to help you in your journey as well. So thank you very much.